Hello, welcome, welcome. Right on time. Hi, Evan. How you doing?
Hey Siobhan, I'm doing good.
Okay, I have an exciting announcement, everyone. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. We're gonna have a blast. It's gonna be a focused 1 hour session. You're gonna be free to go on with your lives in literally 6:59, 60 minutes. I'm Siobhan Sarna. It's a thrill to be here hosting my friend and advisor, Evan Brand, who has been helping thousands of people around the world to get well. Tough, challenging cases, stubborn cases, obnoxious, am I ever going to feel better cases? And Evan has a very different perspective. I have always turned to Evan when I've talked to pretty much everyone else, and I'm like, okay, Evan, what do you think? And he always has great, fresh, new ideas based on his experiences and based on his training, which we'll get into briefly. Today's all about you at home. Thank you for being here. We're going to get you a lot of information, give you an idea of what you can do going forward. But at the very least, it's going to be a mind stretcher, a wake up call, and a good time. We try to have a good time. Evan is, by the way, a new Papa Bear. Third time, third's a charm. They're all charming.
That's
Congratulations.
right.
And what's the baby's name?
It's the third girl. So three girls. So we had Summer first, then we had Jenna. Now we've got Emma Jane.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
and then I'm done. Three's
Okay.
enough.
Okay. Okay. I hear you. I hear you. Well, congratulations. I know you've
Thank
got
you.
that post baby glow, and send all of our best to your wife and your family because it's very exciting. It's
Thank
very
you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate people coming in. This is fun. So we're going to dive into gut health. I'm sure everyone can relate to having gut issues, whether it's hemorrhoids or diarrhea or constipation or cramping or the mood symptoms that come along with this: anxiety, depression, fatigue, skin problems, histamine intolerance, autoimmune diseases like Hashimoto's, Sjogren's, rheumatoid arthritis. I told Siobhan that my goal today was to try to be a little less webinary and a little more just conversational with you all, because
true.
I've done this 1,000 times. I'm on every summit that Health Means does. I do talks every week. I coach doctors and practitioners, and then I run a full-time functional medicine practice. So, you guys can guide the conversation by being active and putting in questions. I know Siobhan will probe you guys to put in
Yes.
questions that you have, but the real story is this. I suffered for a long time. Over a decade, it took me to figure out my gut issues. I went to the gastroenterologist. I went to conventional people, naturopaths, acupuncturists, chiropractors. Everyone had the answer, the supposed answer, the supposed silver bullet. I did everything they wanted me to do, except for the conventional doctors. I did not listen to them. They wanted me on acid blocking medications. They wanted me on antispasmodic medications. I was given the generic diagnosis of IBS, and then I was sent on my way. And not once did they ever bring up nutrition. Not once did they bring up infections like blastocystis hominis, which is a parasite infection I see every week in the clinic. They didn't talk about Giardia or Crypto or H. pylori or SIBO or Candida or mold colonization or Bartonella. None of these issues that I finally discovered on my own, none of these issues were brought up in the conventional world. And so long before I became a certified functional medicine practitioner and a functional nutritional therapy practitioner, those are my credentials now that I use to help people. Long before I had those credentials, I knew that my issues were not a deficiency of medication. And if I took that prescription and I went to the pharmacy and I filled that prescription, I would be one step further from finding and fixing the root cause. And so that's why I denied the medications. And I'd say probably 80% of the clients I've seen in the last 10 years have been on, at one point, some sort of medication, whether it's a beta blocker for heart palpitations, or an antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication, or Adderall because they can't focus, because their brain's not working, all while they're simultaneously taking gut drugs. So that is typically the omeprazole or some other acid blocking medication. Let me tell you, if you're on that now, you got to get off of it. And we can't do it right away. But if you can find and fix the root cause, eventually you can be medication free. And if you're in pain, you can be pain free. But you're not going to do it by guessing. So my whole philosophy and why Siobhan and I vibe with each other so well is because she gets it. It's you got to test, not guess. And so
Mhm.
that's what I'm teaching you all to do. You don't need to go to Cleveland Clinic. You don't need to go to CHOP in Pennsylvania. You don't need to go to Mayo Clinic. Let me tell you, they're not even running these functional labs that I'm going to teach you about today. They're not running those. I see all the people that have paid the big doctors $2,000 an hour. I get those clients after they've already been to these people. So I'm the cleanup crew. I'm the end of the rope guy, and that's what people pay me to do. And I'm honored to be able to help so many people. But it's mainly because I suffered. I suffered on my own for so long, and that I think makes me a better practitioner.
Absolutely. And what I'm going to invite everyone to do is, if you do have a specific question, we're going to be getting into it. Go ahead and put that in the Q&A box. The chat, go ahead and just put your tech issues. Susan's here from the Health Means team. And if you're like, can't hear, or you're having a problem with, order plates, whatever, that's going to be for the chat. But hello from New York and India and the UK. Katie, how you doing? Yep, you tried things for 6 months, haven't worked. Any advice? Pop that. Well, I read it now, so we'll address it. Belgium. But anybody who has a question, please pop it in the Q&A. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to be covering, and I'm going to ask Evan to get into the slides pretty darn quick here. We're going to be conversational though, and try to be interactive. We're going to be covering the functional tests that Evan uses in his practice. And the program that he has for, if you're interested afterwards, no pressure, teaches you how to use those tests. And if you're in New York State, we got to talk about that, because not everyone can get those functional tests, Evan. But the other thing that I love about it is he is a mold expert. I'll tell you a story in a minute that's going to make me very, very sad, but ultimately very, very happy, because I worked in a moldy building at HSN. Sorry, it's true, for 20 years. Got so sick, and I just moved. Great house. And I'm like, nah, there's no mold here. I sent 10 discs off to Immunologics, which is the testing company that Evan suggests. And they did a great job. And I came back with some gunk that I'm really excited to be able to address. And Evan's helping me through that. So Evan, you want to hit the first couple of slides, and then we'll be setting up the action steps that everyone needs to take to get the information you need to move forward.
Yeah, and I skipped the first 15 slides because I am more conversationalist, but basically you guys didn't miss out on much. I talked about how this is my home.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And I created a healthy home course based on suffering, and I love making protocols. And this was a testimonial from a guy who he cleared the mycotoxins in his body based on taking my course, and he took the stool and organic acids and urine test, and then he made a protocol to fix himself. And so that's what I'm teaching you all, is how to fix yourself. And so that's what this is all about today. It's not about where's the magic doctor that's going to help me, what state do I have to travel to get help. You don't have to go anywhere. Even just this week, I've had clients in Australia, Norway, Sweden, Finland, Mexico, Ecuador. I have clients everywhere, and there's no need for a physical brick and mortar practice anymore, especially because these tests are available to ship worldwide. We have distributors around the world that we can work with, and this is more advanced than what your doctor in a brick and mortar practice is going to work with. You know how many times I've heard bad stories about Kaiser out of California and their medical system? It's broken. Canada, it's marketed as an amazing system. It's broken. You're waiting weeks just to get an appointment, and then you're begging the doctors to run these tests. You don't have to beg people, and if you are begging the doctor to run these labs, they're not the right doctor. Because listen, if you're having to beg them, that means they don't know what the tests are, and even if they run them, they don't know how to interpret them, but most importantly, they don't know how to treat you based on the results. So please stop begging your practitioners to do what I'm teaching you here, because they're not the right ones. You can do this yourself. I've done this 1,000 times around the globe, and it's not rocket science. These protocols here are not rocket science. So you can take back your health. And most of you guys are already so smart because you found me and you found Siobhan through Health Means. You've already drank the Kool-Aid of functional medicine, natural health. You're dialed in. So what I'm going to teach you, though, is how do you fix any issue, whether it's asthma. Someone put it in the comments about autoimmunity and asthma and anxiety. I want this to be clear. It's probably already clear, but all of your symptoms are connected. So if you're treating SIBO, but you also have anxiety and fatigue and depression, that SIBO is not occurring in isolation. That SIBO is going to create nutrient deficiency. Is that you, Siobhan, or is that me buzzing?
Honey, I have flowers getting delivered for my godmother. And so the lady, I told her, call me between 12 and 2, and it's 2:09 Eastern. And so now she's calling me. So I'm going to turn off my mic, and I'm going to let you keep talking.
Okay, flowers are good. So
flowers are good. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. So here's the thing. When you go to the SIBO doctor, the SIBO expert, what will happen is if you have an issue like anxiety, they're probably not going to be able to connect the dots for you. They're just going to treat the SIBO. You may do rifaximin, you may do other medications, But you got to fix the anxiety by fixing the gut. You got to fix the fatigue by fixing the gut. You got to fix the brain fog by fixing the gut. It all ties back in. So the tools that you need are the following: organic acids testing, which is called the OAT right here. And hopefully this is big enough. I'll make this a little bigger for you guys so you can see this. Organic acids testing. This is a first morning's urine sample. I run this on every single new client in my practice. We also combine a mycotoxin profile with that. And I'm going to show you a case study in a little bit. But from one urine sample, we can look at all sorts of things. We can look at fungal colonization. We can look at candida. We can look at bacterial overgrowth, mitochondrial function, neurotransmitters, nutrient deficiencies, ketone and fatty acids to determine how well you're burning fat, glutathione status, toxic exposures like chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, which we know damage the microbiome, glyphosate damages the beneficial microbes in the gut, even parts per billion of glyphosate. So if you're out in your driveway and you're spraying Roundup on your weeds in your driveway in flip-flops, you got to quit doing that. Mm-hmm. And if you're my client and you're still doing it, I'm going to fire you, because you're not going to get better, because parts per billion of glyphosate is enough to damage the beneficial microbes in the gut. So if you're going and buying probiotics, but then you're spraying Roundup, you are totally wasting your time and money, and you're damaging your gut and your mitochondria. And then if you're tracking that crap inside and you've got children crawling around on the floor, they're absorbing glyphosate as well. And so I'll show you specific case studies. I've tested hundreds of people. Let me tell you, the most toxic people on planet Earth right now, sadly, as a father, it's children aged 10 and below. I have 80-year-old clients that are cleaner on paper than 5-year-olds, because the 5-year-olds were born in a toxic world, and they got toxins from their mother through the placenta and through breastfeeding, which breastfeeding's amazing, but unfortunately, if the mother didn't detox before pregnancy, she's likely passing stuff to the baby. And so I have specific protocols about children too. I've been treating my kids since they were little. Summer just turned 6, Jenna is 3, and Emma is 1 week old, and we've done a lot for these kids, and it's paid dividends.
So Kinga was asking, these tests, can they be run on kids?
Yeah, absolutely. I run a urine test on Summer every year, and I run a stool test on her as well. She had H. pylori when she was 2 years old. I started noticing her stool consistency was not as good as it should be, so I ran a stool test. She showed up with H. pylori. She probably got it from me. Folks may be aware of this, but H. pylori is a very contagious bacteria. It damages the lining of your stomach. It's specifically what's called the parietal cells. And this is how you make stomach acid. So if you all have gut issues, if you have SIBO, SIFO, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, anxiety, weight loss, or weight gain, GERD, that could be tied into H. pylori. About 51% of the world population has it, but it's when it becomes too high, the levels become too high, that the damage to the stomach and the esophagus can happen. In severe cases, it can create stomach cancer and esophageal cancer, but usually you're going to see what are called virulence factors, and you can measure that on the GI map. So right here on the slides, that's one of the important tests that we have to do on you to investigate this. And if you test positive for H. pylori, let's quickly compare and contrast. This isn't bash the doctor hour, but let me tell you what they're going to do, because I get the clients who come to me after this. You go to the GI doctor, they're going to run a biopsy or potentially a blood or breath test. It may have a false negative, and they're going to do triple therapy or quadruple therapy. This is 3 or 4 different medications, including triple antibiotics, all at the same time. It absolutely decimates the beneficial microbes in the gut. It damages the mitochondria. It worsens leaky gut, creates the perfect open door opportunity for autoimmune diseases to flare up. And guess what? H. pylori has become resistant to these medications. You'll still test positive. So I've seen time and time again people that have gone the conventional rabbit hole trying to fix their gut, and they ended up sick, even more sick than before. And
Guys,
then Siobhan,
hold on, please put your questions in the Q&A box, not the chat, because it spreads my brain too thin and it's kind of distracting. So if you could just keep those questions in the Q&A box, that is the place. So Maddie, Eve, thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. Back to you, Evan.
Yeah, and there's good questions rolling in, so we'll hit these. So the mold plates, Siobhan just talked about those. That's a company called Immunolytics. That's out of New Mexico. And so it is important because, listen, guys, you cannot fix yourself in a sick environment. Siobhan, do you want to tell your story real quick?
Well, I mean, I worked in this moldy building. I'll be very quick. For 20 years, I knew there was mold there. I was in total mold denial. I, 16 years there, 17 years there. I was starting to get really, really sick. My bucket got full, Evan, and I, started to swell. My gut was getting worse. So in 2016, when I first heard about what SIBO was, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, I, started to treat it, and I just couldn't get well because of the mold, because that is a barrier to healing for sure. And, it's Florida. So yeah, it's going to be moldy. But the thing about Florida is if you have water damage, often it can dry. Whereas if you're out in the, Pacific Northwest, it's never dry there. And so that's a real challenge. Anyway, I moved to a different house. I got the test dish, the Petri dishes that you're just talking about. I put 10 out, and I was thinking it's going to come back clean. I'm doing so well. It's cool. And I came back with 4 things. And Evan told me what to do. But also the other day, my clothes washer, the front loader door opened on my second floor, where I have tile, and the water dripped down into the living room underneath it. So we got to open up the floor. We did everything Evan said to do, and I feel confident that we got it in time. But this is something to really, really, for those of you who have mold and already had the mycotoxin test, that this is a very serious issue. But there are, I would say there are 4 or 5 people that I would go to for advice on this topic. And then there are a lot of other people who are repeating what leaders like Evan are talking about. And I'm all for the downline. Don't get me wrong. I want this word out, but I love working with Evan on it, because we didn't talk about it, but his healthy home, that's how I first met Evan. I saw him on YouTube. And I think it was with Ryan Sternagel, and you were giving him a tour of your green living house and the floor materials and all that. And I was mesmerized. I was like, oh, these guys know. Oh, he knows stuff. I'm like, he's a kid. You look so young. You're an old soul. And so
I should have let my beard grow back a little more. I just shaved a few days ago.
What's up? Anyway, so I've been a huge fan ever since. And I send people to Evan when I know they have a mold and gut issue all the time. And then I send people to the course that you have, because it's a course for lifelong learning and resource versus just, a set of appointments, which are obviously very helpful. But, you have to weigh what's going to work for you. So that's my story. And I am very hopeful that I'll never be there again in terms of how ill I used to be.
And hopefully you'll never buy a front-loading washer again.
Yeah, I know.
I want you to have a top-loading washer. Top-loading washers, they drain better. Top-loading washers typically don't mold. So a Speed Queen is cheap but efficient. Made in America, it works great. So if you all are in the market, if you have a front-loading washer, a lot of front-loading washers are moldy. And here's the deal. Mycotoxins, guess what? They go in your clothing. And you can be wearing these mycotoxins. I hope all of you watching
I never thought of that.
I hope you've all at least switched your laundry detergent over to free and clear. I hope none of you are using dryer sheets or fabric softener or any synthetic fragrances. That's going to be driving up some of your mast cell activation. And if you have gut issues, histamine intolerance, mast cell activation, where you're reacting to fragrances. So if you have a sensitive nose, you're reacting to perfume, or you're reacting to people's laundry or car exhaust, pesticide, paint smells, any kind of chemical sensitivity, it's directly connected to toxins that could be coming from gut bacteria producing histamine, but it can also be from mold toxicity. So that's some of the at-home testing that I can teach you about. And then if you do protocols that I can educate you on using specific binders, herbal antifungals, probiotics, mitochondrial support nutrients, B vitamins, amino acids for neurotransmitters, you can improve yourself 5 to 10% every month. And I see people that have suffered for 20, 30, 40 years, and they're so friggin' skeptical, Siobhan. These people, they're angry because they have a supplement graveyard. They spent tens of thousands of dollars on doctor's appointments and functional medicine people and naturopaths, and then they come to me. And I love the skeptics because, number one, I chill them out because I assure them, hey, you've got all the answers. We're going to fix this. So I think just inspiring them with a little bit of hope is very important, that good bedside manner. But more importantly, I suffered on my own. So that's your secret strategy, number one, is getting the proper at-home testing run. And then, of course, making sure you're figuring out what the first thing to fix is. So in my case, it was parasites in H. pylori. So that's what I went after first. But you may have SIBO, candida, leaky gut, adrenal problems all at once. The reality is a lot of the herbs that we use are broad spectrum, meaning you can kill parasites, you can kill worms, you can kill SIBO all in one fell swoop. But here's the kicker. If you have underlying mold toxicity, your SIBO is going to get better for 2 to 3 months, and then you're going to relapse. And then you're going to rotate practitioners, or you're going to rotate herbs. You're going to hit silver, you're going to hit oregano, you're going to hit berberine, you're going to hit garlic. You're going to feel temporarily better again. Maybe they add in some biofilm support, but you're never getting upstream. So here's the thing. If you picture this big old pyramid, okay, maybe it's a reverse pyramid, but either way, at the bottom, you've got your symptoms. I should have a graphic for this, Siobhan, but I'm making this up on the fly because I'm vibing right now.
Yeah.
So at the bottom, you've got the anxiety, the fatigue, the depression, the irritable bowel, the low sex drive, the no sex drive, the brain fog. Okay, so that's all the manifestations at the bottom, and that's where most practitioners stop. Meaning, the naturopath gives you GABA for the anxiety, maybe some rhodiola for the depression if they're smart on herbal medicine, maybe a homeopathic for the histamine issue, maybe some quercetin or stinging nettle for the histamine reactions, maybe the berberine for the SIBO, and that's it. And everyone just stays in this bottom rung of this totem pole of symptom treatment. So it's better than conventional medicine because we're not pumping you full of drugs, right? But it stops there. And the problem is when you go to the guy who says everything is this or that, they have blinders on and they don't want to look upstream. But when I stopped getting results personally and clinically, I started to see the results just slow down. I'm like, well, what the heck am I missing? And then boom, mold in the crawl space, brand new construction house. I was sick as a dog. A friend of mine, Jack Wolfson, who's a cardiologist, I texted him. I said, Jack, I'm waking up dizzy and my blood pressure is going crazy. He texts back one word in all caps, mold. I get goosebumps telling this story. I thought, you got to be kidding me. This is a brand new construction house. We just moved our family into it. There's no freaking way. So sure enough, I go in the crawl space. There's standing water. Apparently, during construction, I was a dummy. I left the water hose on because I was watering new trees I just planted. We had a big freeze. The frozen pipe went into the crawl space. Boom, standing water in the crawl space. Mold issue. I got sick. Wife got sick. Kids got sick. And we were all a mess. And so that's my story. And that's why you have to do this. Secret strategy 2. You've got to test your home, your office, your school for your children that are suffering, or other buildings. Hint, they're probably moldy. And like I told you in the beginning, you can't get well in a sick environment. I don't care how perfect your protocol is. If you're getting exposed and you're breathing in mycotoxins, because all humans, we're inside like 90+% of the day now. If you're breathing this crap in, mycotoxins are mold farts. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. So mold grows on water damaged materials like drywall, fiberglass insulation, the paper backing on the drywall. Mold likes to eat that, and because mold wants to stake out that territory like a squatter back in Yellowstone in the 1800s, squatting out its territory, it doesn't have teeth to bite other molds, so it just farts mycotoxins right into the air. And now you're the innocent bystander breathing this stuff in, and it suppresses your immune system, and guess what? It promotes the overgrowth of Candida and SIBO. And the lab tells you this on your test report. So I want every single person watching, if we haven't already, we've got to get a urine organic acids and a urine mycotoxin test on you. If you show positive for mycotoxins, the lab will tell you straight up, this mycotoxin promotes the overgrowth of Clostridia and Candida. And Clostridia is a very pathogenic bacteria, and Candida is a yeast that can create acetaldehyde, so brain fog, forgetfulness, memory problems. This can all be driven from these infections in the gut, all created by mold. And so these Petri dishes here, they cost less than $200. You can test your whole house. So everyone needs to be doing that. I already covered this. I couldn't get help from doctors because they ran the wrong test. They wanted to do barium x-ray scans. They wanted to do endoscopies and colonoscopies. Let me tell you about endoscopies. Guess what? They don't clean them very well these days. You know how many people end up with what's called an HAI, hospital-acquired infection? Meaning the last girl or guy, they stuck that tube down who had pathogens. They kind of clean the tube, and then they stick it down you, and then you leave the hospital with potentially a life-threatening antibiotic-resistant infection. So medical error is in the top 5 leading causes of death in this country. And what I'm telling you is you don't need an endoscopy. You can do a GI Map Stool Test. We're going to look at a case study in a minute. We can measure intestinal inflammation. We can look at secretory IgA to determine whether or not you have leaky gut. We can look at steatocrit to determine how well you're digesting your fats. We can look at your pancreatic elastase to see what your pancreas is doing. And we can look at a vast number of parasites, worms, bacteria, and fungus in one stool sample that you can do at your house, and you send it back to the lab in Georgia. We get the results, and then you can make a protocol, whether you hire me for one-on-one consults or whether you take the course that I've created to do these type of protocols based on other people's case studies that look like yours. You can fix this stuff. And you're not going to get root cause medicine in a conventional office. So this is what it looks like. Is this big enough, Siobhan, these slides?
Yeah, it is for me. If anybody does not feel that they're big enough, just
I'll go ahead
put it in the chat. I think it's fine.
Okay, so here's what you're looking at, Siobhan. Your plates probably look something like this, hopefully not this ugly, but these are the Petri dishes after several days of testing your environment. This is what they look like. And this is a client that I had who had mycotoxins off the chart. Now, we talked about how mold farts are mycotoxins, okay? So if you see here, Aspergillus, that is the most common mold, and Penicillium is a close second. These grow in water-damaged buildings, and this could have been from childhood, by the way, so folks watching and listening, if you grew up in a moldy farmhouse, if your mother and grandmother had mold toxin, they can pass it through the generations. I run more of these labs than any doctor in this country, and I will tell you, I've seen the generations, grandmother, daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter. We've seen these mycotoxins pass through the generations due to the transfer of toxins through the placenta and through breast milk, or just simply all living in the same moldy house. And so, as you see on this mycotoxin report on the right, we want less than 200 would be optimal for what's called gliotoxin. This particular female had a gliotoxin of over 4,000. This is what brain fog looks like on paper. So stop buying the brain supplement. You don't need the brain supplement. You need to fix what's damaging the brain. And mycotoxins damage the brain. Specifically, they damage the cerebellum. This is the part of the brain for proprioception. I don't talk about this much, Siobhan, because I was almost embarrassed to, because I needed to solve it first before I could talk about it, because I was scared that I wouldn't be able to solve it, and therefore I'm not qualified to talk about it. But I quit driving for about 2 years because I had so much dizziness and vertigo from mold exposure. I was too scared to drive. And I had issues with my depth perception. Dr. Shoemaker, he's one of the old medical docs that really started talking about mold.
Absolutely.
He really promotes what's called a visual contrast sensitivity test, where you can look at certain shapes on a computer screen, and if you can't detect the contrast, you have biotoxin illness like Lyme disease or mold. So I failed that test, but I couldn't see. Like, I went to the eye doctor. I had 20/20 vision. I'm like, okay, explain this to me then. I have 20/20 vision, but like my perception is messed up. It was like I was seeing in 2 dimensions. Thank the Lord, I'm back to driving, and it's because I detoxed from mold. And my gut's better, my mood's better, my energy's better, my sleep is better. Mold toxin depletes melatonin. Mold toxin also depletes dopamine. So all of you out there popping your melatonin sprays and lozenges and sublingual this and liposomal that, you don't need it if you fix mold. It's not because you're getting old. It's likely not your hormones, although mold can disrupt your hormones and create estrogen dominance. You don't just need the bioidenticals, you need to detox mold, because there's one thing that I'll teach you, which is that zearalenone. This is a mycotoxin that we see all the time in females with estrogen dominance. If they can fix that, they don't even need hormones anymore, because estrogen is being elevated. This is an estrogen-like mold toxin that's in a water-damaged building.
What's it called, Evan? What's it called?
It's called zearalenone, with a Z like zebra.
Okay.
Zearalenone, and this comes from a mold called Fusarium, which grows in water-damaged buildings. So all the females with hot flashes and night sweats and vaginal dryness and low libido, and menstruating women that are having breast tenderness and PMS and infertility and miscarriages, I've seen it all. I've worked with many women who were told they couldn't have children, and we were able to create healthy babies by detoxing. So the fertility experts, the IVF experts, they're not talking about this stuff.
Almost, I mean, it's emerging.
So let's keep moving on.
Most people are not talking about it. It's very true. And then if you are talking about it, you really need to work with an expert to try to figure it out. And the question is, I have a moldy house. Does this mean I have to move or do thousands of dollars of renovations? That's a very good question. You really need to go inside to yourself and decide what your priorities are. It's a poison. And so you need to, maybe your home insurance could cover it. You need to really do what I did, which is to wake up and smell the coffee, so to speak, and go, wow, okay, all those people that thought I had mold that I disavowed or I like diminished, I didn't disavow them, I just diminished them in my brain. They were right the whole time. And I lost 2 years. I could have been better back then, like sooner, if I had listened. But I didn't want to. I didn't want to fix stuff. I didn't want to go find another job, all that. So I'm with you on this. It's a problem to overcome. It is a challenge to overcome, and it can be very, very uncomfortable. And believe me, money is important to all of us. I'm not saying that from any perspective of like diminishing how truly expensive and overwhelming it is. I'm actually coming from my own experience and suffering too, but that's the big wake up call. And if you get nothing else from this webinar other than hello, wake up, then that's fantastic. And if we can help you further, that's even better.
Amen. So we spent $12,000 on remediation for our new construction home. I paid cash. Luckily, I had the cash to pay the 12 grand, but many people could have potentially been bankrupted. I mean, I saw a study the other day that like 75% of America is living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, there's some hard financial times going on, and people can't just do that. And so fortunately, I've worked with the pharmacist where we've actually created a seed oil blend of grapefruit, lime, lemon, and tangerine in a special formula that you can do in a fog machine format. And it's about 1/12 the cost, maybe 1/10. It's like $1,000 can treat 4,000 square feet. And it works like a charm. So that is an option that I have. But the answer is it depends on whether you have to leave your house. I don't know. I haven't seen how bad it is, how old it is, how extensive was the water damage. But in general, the trauma of being sick from your home is enough to justify leaving in many cases. And so we left, even though we remediated it and fixed it, we left and we went somewhere else because there was just so much mental PTSD. And PTSD, people think about like car wrecks and verbal abuse and that kind of stuff, military veterans with PTSD, but medical PTSD is very freaking real. And I suffered from it because when you go in and you look the doctor straight in the eye, just like when my wife first got sick too, and she had several tick bites that same summer, unfortunately. This doctor, I'll never forget it, Dr. King, he looked us straight in the eye and laughed in our face when we suggested that it could be a combination of mold toxicity and Lyme disease. He laughed. And he said, well, I don't have anywhere to send people like you. And so we left. And I was like, okay, that's it. I'm done with conventional medicine. Unless I'm dying of appendicitis, I'm done. And so that's when I became a certified functional medicine provider. And now I help people because I mean, it brought us to tears. I mean, we left, we were pissed off, but we were sad too. It's like, okay, this is our medical system. That's the best we've got. This is the highest reviewed guy in town, and this is the way he's going to treat us. So anyway, I could rant, but let's keep moving on. So once you finally get these functional medicine labs on yourself, then you have to make and use a protocol, and you can do this on your own. So generally it looks something like this. Phase 1. We're adding in extra digestive enzymes and HCl, especially if you've had H. pylori. That downregulates your stomach acid. Then we're making sure you're draining, meaning you're peeing, you're pooping. See, mold toxin damages the kidneys. And this is why a lot of people wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. It's not because you're old. It's not your hormones. It's because you have mycotoxins. Your kidneys are damaged, and they have to work harder. And I've had some clients that have donated. I had one female who donated a kidney to her dad. So she only had one kidney and she had major mold. She was in big trouble. I said, I really wish you had that other kidney right now because this mold is really screwing up this one kidney that you do have. So we're making sure kidneys are supported. You're adding in organic foods because we talked about how pesticides damage the beneficial microbes in the gut. And then we're balancing out the microbiome. And so once you test, not guess, now you can use specific herbs. I've got about 5 or 6 different microbiome formulas I've created. We've done these thousands of times. These are essentially herbal antibiotics that also have antiviral, antifungal, antiparasitic properties. So like I told you, we can kill multiple infections with the same protocol. If someone tells you everything's candida, everything is strep or staph, Klebsiella or Pseudomonas or Blasto, they're typically wrong. It's very rare to see just one gut infection, okay? I've done 1,000+ stool tests. It's very rare to see one infection. Usually what happens is this. Someone has a big stressor, a water damage, mold exposure, tick bites, something weakens the immune system. H. pylori, being an opportunistic bacteria, moves in. It grows, starts to lower your stomach acid. Now that your stomach acid is more alkaline, now when you're eating sushi on a Friday night with your friends, you're going to get exposed to pathogens. Those pathogens, there's not enough acid to kill those off. So now you develop parasite infections from contaminated food or water. These parasites start to rob you. I lost 25 pounds without trying. I thought I had cancer. I had parasites. Thank God I figured it out. I had H. pylori too. Then these parasites create nutrient deficiencies. So now when you're deficient in B vitamins, you can't make adequate melatonin. You can't digest the protein, so you're not making enough serotonin. So now you're depressed, you're anxious, you're irritable, you're angry, you're in a sexless marriage, and you don't know what to do. And this all stemmed from this one big smoking gun that could have been H. pylori. So if you can just fix that, you're going to get so much better. And so what should happen? Well, you get more energy, you get better moods, and your gut issues don't happen anymore. My poops now are awesome.
Congratulations, Evan.
Come
We're so
on.
happy.
Woo! I mean, when I was in college, the first thing I had to do was figure out where was the bathroom because my IBS was so bad. At any moment, I'd have to go run and poop. And I tell you, to be able to travel and not have fear of pooping your pants is awesome. And I don't know how many people can relate to that. Hopefully, many of you. But my God, IBS can be debilitating. And the hard part about it is it's kind of an invisible illness, right? Because on the outside, you could look totally fine, but on the inside, you are suffering. And so I feel for you. I've been there. And yeah, I don't have to do that anymore. So
That's wonderful.
let's have some fun, Siobhan, if you're ready.
Okay.
We're looking at the GI Map Stool Test. This is a case study here. There's dozens of case studies inside my functional medicine training courses. I have doctors, naturopaths, I have acupuncturists, I have just health seekers like you all that take the course and they say it's worth $5,000, but we don't charge anywhere close to that. So this is C. diff. That's a bad boy. You don't want C. diff. Conventional medicine has trouble treating it. It kills people every year because it's resistant to antibiotics. We can treat it with herbs. Here's blasto, infamous blastocystis hominis. This is a parasite infection. This female also had Dentamoeba fragilis. She had leaky gut because her secretory IgA is low, and you can see she had high calprotectin, which means she had gut inflammation. This is her organic acids test.
Move on. What test was that, Evan? What test was that?
This is the GI Map Stool Test.
Got it. Okay.
Every single person needs one.
Yeah.
And if you've already done one and you haven't done one in years, well, it's time to get a new one because things change quick. This is the oat test right here. This is the organic acids. Now, this is a longer 75 total markers. I'm just showing you one snapshot here, okay? So how you read these is when you see high markers, you know there's a problem. And I'll teach you exactly specific biomarkers, what this means, what that means. But the long story short here, this long word, 5-hydroxymethyl-2-furoic is elevated. Furan 2,5-dicarbolic, this is elevated. Arabinose is elevated, and hippuric acid is elevated. So in one page of one urine sample, I can tell you about yourself. This particular woman, she has fungal colonization, she has candida, and she has bacterial overgrowth. That's 3 things I can tell you in 5 seconds. Your GI doc's not doing this. They're not even running these tests. So this is the importance of organic acids. You have to get this done. This is critical to your health. These are some Petri dishes. Siobhan, you just ran these on your house. Good job. Appreciate you calling me and asking for help because I'm honored. And this is what nasty plates look like. You want single digits below 4. This woman, her bedroom was 47 colonies of mold. This is going to make you sick, folks. I don't care how many probiotics and leaky gut supplements and glutamine and collagen and bone broth you're doing. It doesn't matter. If you've got this, you got to fix it. You know how much money's being made on leaky gut supplements and it's not working because they're not addressing the root cause? Millions.
I want to just say something about this is that your car can also have mold.
Yep.
So just a heads up. And Mandy, I'm so sorry about your brother. That's horrible. And then Eve, you're right. Most insurance companies are not going to pay for these tests. This is a little bit of that tough love where like I would get a side gig, like reading transcripts or editing, go to Fiverr, go to whatever, go to Upwork and put yourself out there for your skill set so you can make it extra, like, you know, whatever, a couple of $1,000. And I'm not diminishing the fact that money is important and not everybody has it. I get that because like all these supplements and everything are expensive and the guessing is expensive. I know that if I had this information in the beginning, I would have saved literally tens of thousands of dollars, not to mention time, energy, and stress.
You know how
So
much they charge for an ambulance ride to the hospital if you think you're having like a heart attack or something? It's like $3,000 to get a ride to the hospital in an ambulance. This everything I'm teaching you is far less than the ambulance ride to the hospital when you think you're dying.
and by the way, if you do think you're dying, Evan's not saying don't go to the hospital. He's saying just we could go on about the medical thing. And I try to be very not cynical about the medical thing.
Oh, I'm cynical. I'm the
Okay,
opposite.
it's totally fine. I try not to be because it drains me.
Yeah,
And even though I'm proactive and all that, well, let's keep going because
sure.
that's a whole side thing. Yeah.
So
We're
yeah,
gonna-
it does cost money to get yourself better, but keep in mind cancer is a very expensive diagnosis. Mycotoxins cause cancer. In fact, I looked at a study in all of my research. I've done hours of free podcast on this. It's called the Evan Brand Show. I've been doing this for a decade. It's been out since 2012. I'm in the top 100 of all podcasts in health in the world. I've been that way for almost a decade. I've done podcasts for free on this topic. There's a study out of Guatemala. Liver cancer in males is extremely common, and it's tied in to the men eating moldy corn tortillas.
Ugh,
So there you go.
and
So
there's
can't,
mold in your coffee, kids, unless it's like a couple of specific brands. I know,
yeah.
like you could really be pissed off at us right now to discuss all these things with you,
So,
but
so
truth
yeah,
will set
so
you free.
that is true, Siobhan. So yes, mold can be in coffee and it can be in nuts, which is why a lot of people feel better on a grain-free or a paleo or autoimmune template because they're generally pulling out like moldy grains and moldy nuts and seeds. And so the long story short of it is diet is a small percentage of it. The vast majority of this toxicity is coming from water damaged buildings. And this could have been from childhood. And genetically, if you can't detox mold, which big chunk of the population can't, you're going to hold on to this for 50, 60, 70 years until you finally get rid of it using the appropriate protocol, such as the following down here, which is something that I teach you, which could be binders like charcoal and clay and zeolite and fulvic acid and pectin in the right dosages, in the right ratios, based on your test results, not guessing, we're testing. And we're using probiotics to help convert toxins into less toxic forms. We're using antimicrobials to treat infections. We're using adaptogenic herbs and liver support. We're rebuilding the mitochondria that get damaged so you cannot be chronically fatigued anymore. A guy named Dr. Brewer did a study years ago. He ran a chronic fatigue clinic. 96% of his patients who had chronic fatigue had at least one mycotoxin in their urine. So the link between chronic fatigue and mold is like peanut butter and jelly. It is definitely linked. This was a female before and after. I've got more photos than just this female, but this is a cool story. She got way better, way more confident, of course, because her gut was a mess and her skin was a mess. Your skin is a manifestation of your gut.
Yeah.
So, ladies, it's not about finding the best foundation and cover up and creamer and cleanser and charcoal mask. Just fix your gut. My wife uses hardly any makeup and her skin looks beautiful. And I don't say that just because she's my wife. Her skin truly looks great because we fixed her gut. So it's not about the makeup. I love makeup too. Cool, but you shouldn't need it. You should be able to get rid of issues like this and look way better with fixing your gut.
Evan, we have 18 minutes left, and I do want to get to
Okay.
some questions. So let's keep grooving on here.
Sure. So this is just a lot of like mumbo jumbo. I'll skip that. But basically, here's the point that people need to know. They have two options. You can get done with this webinar. You can go back to your regular day-to-day life, cooking and cleaning and doing dishes and listening to the latest podcast and buying the next probiotic you're going to hear about. And you're going to try this enzyme. And then you're going to go see this practitioner in town and go get some more acupuncture and do a massage and take a vacation. But your issues are going to stay the same. Or you can run the functional medicine labs that I'm telling you to run on yourself at home. We can help you to order these and organize the logistics. We can send it to your house. It doesn't matter where you are. Yeah, you'll spend probably $1,500 to get the functional labs done. That is a one-time thing to where you can figure out exactly what the heck is going on, even if you suffered for 50 years. I had to buy a new heat pump for my house. That was more expensive than all the functional medicine labs. So, like, value and cost is relative, right? Like, how much is your suffering going to have to make you miserable before you're like, okay, I'm tapping out? And I encourage people, please don't do what I did. I was at rock bottom. You don't do that. Like, if on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is the most miserable, if you're at a 7 or an 8 or even a 4, don't wait till you're a 10 before you do this. I had a guy named Ryan this morning in North Dakota. He's like, Evan, I'm totally fine, but I want a workup. We did a workup. He had tons of mold. And he's like, oh my God, I didn't realize, but now my energy's better. I have less brain fog. I didn't know what brain fog was until it cleared. I had brain fog. I'm like, oh yeah, so there you go. So
That's a
even
really good point.
so even people, men specifically, you guys are the worst because you don't admit something's wrong. It's okay. If you have erectile dysfunction, it could be mold. You don't need Viagra. You need to detox mold because mold affects nitric oxide production. So if you've got cold hands, cold feet, and weak erections, you don't need Cialis, Viagra. You need to detox mold. And so the option one is continue your life as is. This is like in the Matrix. You got the red pill or the blue pill. The option two is that you could decide that this is the time in your life where you're fully going to commit to this. Your life is not going to get any less busy, any less crazy, probably anytime soon, unfortunately. Life's going to keep spinning, spinning, spinning. But there's another fork in the road that you can take here where you can get the data that you need and you can fix yourself so that you can be a better father, a better mother, a better practitioner, a better entrepreneur, business owner, stay-at-home wife, whatever you do. You can do that better if you can get yourself better. And all the caretakers watching, if you've got a husband, wife, or children, or family members, mother, aging parents you want to take care of, eventually you've got to put yourself first, because if you drain your own bucket, you're not going to have any energy to take care of anyone else. And it's not being selfish, it's being self first. So please, let's put you first for once. Let's get you better to where then you can help others. I'm all about helping others, but I had to fix myself first. And so I want to sell you on this idea of my functional medicine training course, because I'm actually selling this at double the price on my own. But Siobhan and I teamed up to do this special promotion with Health Means, and this is not like a, you know, like a fake sale just to get you to buy it. I'm literally selling the course at double the price of what we're about to show.
On your site. Your internet lagged a little bit.
Yes, on my side.
On your site. So what I love about this, Evan,
Oh, I'm
is
sorry.
you've given us better belly and better home. The last time we did this webinar, we really didn't talk enough about mold. So I'm really glad we went there today, because we've said it. If you don't take care of the mold, you're not going to get well. And you may not have mold. And you know what? The Better Belly course is more than worth it. So you tell us exactly what you're getting here. You're getting resources. I'm just going to say this one that I'm super excited about. Resources on how to treat the mold, and then resources for how to address the home, as well as access to the functional tests, which are the price. I'm just going to be straight up. The price of the tests are not included. Okay. So that is extra. You have an alternative, which is to go to Evan and have these appointments. It is more expensive. I'm just saying. And by the way, don't ever expect any practitioner to email you in between appointments. I don't know where this has come from, but the only complaint I've ever heard about Evan is that he didn't email me back after I emailed him in between the appointments. I'm like, nobody does that. Hello? You talk to him at the next appointment. Sorry. So anyway, that I was like, entitlement. No. So this is do it yourself if you can. Get this course, step-by-step roadmap. He takes you through the protocols, and he did this. Thank you so much for showing us a screenshot of the course. Let's take a look at module 1.
Yep. And I probably did reply to them, but if it's too complex, I'll have my staff send a canned email response that says, hey, this is too complex. Let's book a 10-minute call to hash it out. But in general, we try to answer everybody's question. But just to be fully transparent, right now I charge $500 an hour for my clinical practice. I'm booked out 2 months. So I love what I do. I help a ton of people. But for a fraction, you can get way more hours of me teaching you this stuff. And I'll be honest, Siobhan, I'm kind of putting myself out of work here, because if everybody just took the course, I would probably have like 80% less clients, because they wouldn't need me, because they could fix all of this, because I've already outlined it. And I'm literally getting paid to repeat myself all day, almost every day now.
I get it.
But that's only because I've refined the protocol so much. I'm not saying that there's not outliers that need more specific care, but a lot of times this stuff is pretty dang easy to fix. And so module 1, foundation. Yeah. So this is all about how does your digestive system function and dysfunction. I'll teach you about how do you connect your labs to your symptoms. Then you go into the IBS, contributing factors, your ileocecal valve, testing and case studies and protocols for IBS. That's an entire lesson where I show you clients from my clinic. And then what do we do to fix them? So this could include, like we showed you, mold labs, organic acid labs, stool labs. And let me be clear, the goal is you take the course, you run your own functional medicine labs, you then refer back to the case studies where you can see Jane Doe and Johnny, and they had issues just like you. I tell you all their symptoms. I pull back the curtain. We show you what the heck was wrong with them. We show you the exact protocol of how we fix them. And then we show you the after lab testing result proving that it worked. And now you are going to look and you're going to be like, ooh, this is me right here. And you're going to run down this rabbit hole and follow this case just like your own. And you're going to get yourself better. So that's how it works. Module 3 is all about Candida. We have a whole section dedicated to children with Candida. My daughter Summer, when she had parasites and H. pylori and Candida all at the same time, at 2 years old, we treated her. So there's a case study about that in there. And also your pets. Most pets have Candida on them. Siobhan, you said Candida showed up on your Petri dishes. So that could either be from you off-gassing Candida or it could be your pets. So, and I know you've got some kitties running around, don't you?
I do. They're sleeping right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
So
Yeah.
acid and enzymes, there's a whole section about weaning yourself off of proton pump inhibitors. That's too complex for today's conversation, but it's there. This was a woman named Charity who took my course. She says that my training was exceptional. And I give you specific protocols like this. I show you exactly what to take, when to take it, how often, with or without food, how many doses per day. I give you protocols and nutrition sheets about specifically like low histamine is something we push a lot of people towards because mold and gut infections drive histamine intolerance. So I've got a whole section about that in there. We go into specific supplements. I've got a whole liver gallbladder root cause rescue plan that's in there. That's just a little fun bonus guide to teach you how to get your gallbladder working properly because the enterohepatic recirculation pathway, it means you recirculate your bile, 95% of it, and mold hangs out in bile. So we've got to increase bile flow so you can detox, and that's in the course. We've got a whole SIBO, CFO, and you know what CV19 means. So that is a protocol dedicated to what that virus does to the gut. There's a whole section right there. You see it, 5.8. That's a very important lecture. I've seen dozens of clients that have developed major leaky gut issues after viral exposure. I have a protocol to fix it.
Cool.
Worms, parasites, that's some crazy stuff. People poop out foot-long worms sometimes, so that's fun. And then we've got, which this is actually grown, Siobhan, this section here, I added several new, I don't have the updated screenshot, but I added several new case studies in here. We just had a new client that had histamine problems. We added her case study where she's actually on the phone. You all can listen and watch in on my phone call with the client, what we talked about, what we did, what we didn't do, what she previously tried and didn't work. That's all in there. So these are all actual calls with clients. And then I do coach practitioners too. I charge doctors a lot of money to teach them how to do this stuff. I put those doctor training calls in the course as well, so you can see how to do this for yourself. You can do this at your own pace. So even if you're like, I'm too busy, I'm leaving the country for 3 months, it doesn't matter. Just take advantage of this discount and just go back to it whenever you can. It's self-paced. You can do it on your phone. You can do it at night when you put the kids to bed. There's quizzes inside the course to make sure that you're actually learning. This is not just for brain candy. I want you to truly learn something.
And do something.
Yep. And then you can fix yourself. So, and then the Healthy Home course is an upsell that we have. This is about me giving you a glorified house tour. I teach you specifically about building materials, and I teach you the connection between your home and your illness. I've probably already eloquently displayed that today, but this is more geeky stuff about floors and paints and finishes and existing homes and new construction homes. I've built homes. I've renovated homes. I love real estate, so I've got a lot of experience in this.
Hold on for a second. Hey, Susan, can you post a link in the chat for everyone to be able to click on? And I know Brianna has to go, but if you could put the thank you, thanks, you're so good.
So the course, Siobhan, right now I'm selling the course on my own outside of Health Means. I've had that existing funnel on my website. I'm selling the course for $1,500.
Okay.
For some reason, you and I are going crazy, and it's literally like half price. It's I believe we've got it at $7.99.
I think that's right.
For Better
both.
Belly.
Do you get both?
And the Healthy Home, I think that's an upsell for around $149. So
Right.
your total for both, right now I'm selling both of those for around $2,000. You're getting it for less than $1,000. So you're literally getting 50% off. And this is the only place that I can even publish it due to the contract. I can't even publish this course for a discount anywhere else. So this Health Means is literally the only place you're going to get this pricing. And it's really just because I want more people to do this, because I want more people to run labs, because when you get data, it's very empowering. So that's the Healthy Home course. We talk about glyphosate and chemicals in the home. We talk about EF, microwave and cell phone towers and Bluetooth and smart devices and smart meters and all that. I'm not a building biologist, but I am an EMF expert based on my own clinical experience with EMF and EMF sensitive clients. Ding, ding, ding. The light bulb went off in my head when I started getting pain in my hand when I was on YouTube on my phone. Mold toxicity creates EMF sensitivity.
They love it.
So if you treat mold, your EMF sensitivity gets better. Yeah.
Hey, Evan, can I borrow you for a second? I just want to look how cute you are. I'm just like you. I know. I want to just do something before we lose folks. Can I share my screen for a second? This will stop.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
let me turn this off here.
All right, because I know we're running out of time here. Guys, this is share screen. There you go. This is.
And you want me to hit some questions real quick?
Yeah, well, I want to do this because we got to get this taken care of, and
Okay.
then we're going to do some questions, which are fabulous questions, by the way. This is, you click the link. This is what it looks like. You're saving $700. It's $7.99. You can get the better home course. It'll be prompt you when you are placing your order. That's the lowest price anywhere. This is such a phenomenal value. This is what I wish I had back in 2016. Oh my gosh, I would have saved, as I said, so much time, energy, and money. And Evan, people are asking, do you have long-term access to this when you purchase the course?
Forever access, and I'm always growing the course. Maybe that's a bad business decision. Maybe I need to put a new course together and try to steal more money, but the goal is not about that. The goal is to help people. So I'm continually adding content for free. So once you're a student forever. This is not like a subscription model where you can only access it. I've had business coaches tell me, Evan, you got to go subscription model. I don't want to. It's a one-time fee and you get access forever. All the protocols, PDFs, supplements, how much to take, what to take, when to take, how many, with meals, without food. It's all in there forever.
That is excellent. And as it grows, you'll be getting the updates. That is huge. For our course, the SIBO course I do, we give you updates. And that's like unheard of. I only know of 3 people in the entire industry that do that. But let me get you some questions, Evan. Sorry we ran out of time, but you were really on a roll. That was all so good. Do you need to detox your body, heal your gut, and get rid of parasites? Wait, do you need to eat healthy, detox your body, and get rid of all parasites before you can heal your gut? They're sort of simultaneous.
Yeah, I mean, you fix it all at the same time. That's the cool thing.
Does your course treat heavy metals, address heavy metals?
There are some heavy metal case studies in there. However, here's the cool thing. A lot of the detox protocols, we use broad spectrum nutrients, meaning the micronized chlorella, the zeolites, the clays, the pectins. Guess what? Not only do they detox mold, but they detox heavy metals and pesticides. So yes, we're clearing out hundreds of things that we're not even testing for in most cases.
Okay, and then I had H. pylori cured with antibiotics, retested, and it wasn't present. Endoscopy showed my stomach did not empty after 12 hours of fasting, which was a new issue. I had a stomach emptying test and took 3 hours to digest. So that's a motility issue. Sorry, that wasn't a question.
That's okay. I see this one about the rifaximin. Somebody asked about the rifaximin and it didn't help my symptoms. I told you so. I've seen it 100 times.
You have to really do a very special protocol to have it work, and it needs to be done carefully. And if you can do herbs, great. That's a beautiful thing. Can you share how do we do the test logistics? Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a question for you about that.
So once you're a student in the course, you have access to my office staff 24/7. And within one business day, we can order anything under the sun. So I really want people to go through the course. You're going to learn some stuff about yourself, about your digestive system. And then when you see some of the case studies, you're going to know, okay, I want to get the oat. I want to get the myco. Maybe you want to add on the chemicals. Maybe you live next to a farm and you want to test chemicals. All you do is you send a request in to my staff. We'll sign off on that. We use our credentials to allow all students to order. Even if you're not a client in my clinical practice, you can access this just as a student, because normally you have to have a doctor to sign off on this. So we'll sign off on everything. We will ship it to your door. It has a prepaid envelope. You'll get it back in the mail. UPS or FedEx will pick it up or drop it off. We will get the results. My staff emails you the results. You can go back to the course with those results, or if people want to hire me because they're too sick to focus, I am available for consults. But like I said, I'm typically booked out about a month or 2.
Evan, what about people out of the country? We have someone from Dubai what do we do about the testing? Is
We can
someone,
test in Dubai. We've done it before. I've had clients in the UAE several
David?
times. So we have a UK distributor that we would use for the Dubai person.
Cool. Do you what about glutathione? Do you primarily use oat test, mycotoxin test to determine glutathione levels?
So on the organic acids, you can measure glutathione. We often supplement glutathione. There's specific protocols where I use glutathione, and sometimes I don't because in the really sensitive people, glutathione mobilizes too many toxins and you can get sicker. So there are many cases where I do not use glutathione. Me personally, I'm sensitive. I can only handle a little bit of glutathione.
Right. And then what companies do you use for this testing that doesn't require a physician's approval? That's all part of, the tangential relationship that you can do through Evan. What do you think about dark field blood testing? Just,
Now, the labs do require a practitioner. I'm acting as your practitioner
that's
once
my
you're a
point.
student of the
Yes.
course, and then we sign off on it. Dark field is cool, but it's not as good as these functional labs. It misses stuff.
And does the oat cover mycotoxin and stool analysis? So you've got an oat test, you have a stool test. Do you need to do all three if funding is limited? What's the one must do test?
My God.
Excuse me.
Honestly, I'd rather you look through the case studies and figure out which case looks like you and where the most problems showed up because sometimes the smoking gun's in the stool test, sometimes it's the mold, sometimes it's the oat. And man, if you put a gun in my head and said I can only pick one, it'd probably be the organic acids test.
Okay. Let's see. He goes over how to test for contamination in your home in the Better Home course. Very comprehensive. And got it, Connie, about your endoscopy. Have you ever heard of leaky gut causing fallopian tube blockage?
I don't know about blockage, but I've heard of gut issues creating infertility and many, many other hormonal problems in females. So I'll tell you that much.
Right. Okay. What about gum disease and dental issues with the rest of the body? You know how I feel about that.
Of course, it's connected. The oral microbiome is directly connected to the gut microbiome. So, yeah, we see a lot of issues with receding gums. Also, mast cell activation triggered by mold can create gum recession. So, if you want to fix your mouth, you got to fix your gut.
And you got to fix your mouth to fix, and vice versa.
And that's true. And if you got cavitations, I cover some of that in the course. Cavitations, dental infections, root canals, those are big issues that have to be resolved also.
This is cutting edge stuff, guys. So this is not mainstream. Seriously.
It'll never be. I used to say like a decade ago, I'd say maybe in 20 years, but here we are 10 years closer and we're still nowhere closer in the conventional world. So you're not going to hear about this stuff anywhere else.
And I love that it's all in one place. You might hear a little bit of this and a little bit of that. This is all in one place. Carol's ENT that she saw last year told me that the phlegm needs to be addressed by a gastro. I feel that it's all coming down from my sinuses. And I've had throat clearer as long as I can remember. Mold from my moldy farmhouse, I can certainly relate to. So I think that's my next big test.
Yeah, so what she needs to do is get her organic acids and look at the case studies. But you'll see if you have mold colonization in the sinuses, we can treat that. There's some sinus protocols that we use, but then we're also using oral supplements to help with the fungal problem. But it's very, very common.
Listen, guys, thank you so much for being here. We are at the full hour. Please join us. The link, Susan, if you could post again in the chat. Thanks, Eve. I didn't get to all the questions, but when you only have an hour, it's hard to do. But a big, big thank you. Pop some love into the chat for Evan. And I just want to encourage you, thanks, Maria, that if this appeals to you, to really go for it. Really seriously consider going for it. Read the basics about the course. Click that link. Check it out. Evan, you're a genius and a scholar. Congratulations on the baby. Thanks for helping all of us. Don't miss this opportunity because that price is going to be changing shortly. He did a great deal with Health Means. It is not going to be forever by any stretch. We will send the recording out and you can rewatch this here and there and send this to your friends who need to hear it too. Thanks, Evan.
My pleasure. And I've literally had students enrolling in this course this week on my particular website for $14.97. So once again, I'm not saying this isn't like some like funny sales pitch of like exclusive offer. It literally is an exclusive offer. I told Health Means we probably needed to match my price and they said, no, we're keeping it at $7.99. So you guys, please take advantage of this. You can change your life forever. Make this the year. Get the functional labs. You don't even need to hire me. Just get the freaking labs. Get it done. You got to get the data. Stop guessing. Stop building a supplement graveyard. Start getting the answers now.
That sounds like a great, great plan. And just what a relief. I'm so happy to be part of this because I know the difference it can make in your lives. So Go for it. All right. Thanks. I'm going to hit it, you guys.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.